Good morning, everybody. My name is Tony Shorris. I'd like to welcome you all here on behalf of Princeton University, the Woodrow Wilson School, and the Policy Research Institute for the region, where I serve as director. The Institute is Princeton's interdisciplinary center, focusing on policy issues affecting the communities of New Jersey, New York, and the greater Philadelphia area, trying to apply the human capital of the university to some of the issues in the communities around us. So usually when I open up our events, my job is to go over the schedule, offer a few thank yous, let you know where lunch is and how to find the bathrooms. I have all the glamorous assignments. But I want to ask your indulgence this morning to lay out a little bit more detail why we're here, what I hope we'll get out of the day, and I promise I'll get to lunch too. As all of you know who've had anniversaries or birthdays, these artificial events have value only insofar as they force us to take some stock of where we've come from, where we are, where we're going. The nominal focus of today's event, the 10th anniversary of TANF, is really just a chance for us to force a conversation about something very important to the meaning of America, how it treats the most vulnerable of its citizens, the poor left behind by the giant roaring engine of the market that has created the wealthiest society known to man, but has left many behind. It's a conversation with many parts and with many perspectives, and in many ways reflecting the little institute that we've tried to build here at Princeton. Because to understand the life of the poor in America is, of course, completely impossible. It's as variegated as the lives of the rich we so admire, or the middle class, which includes so many of us here today. But we can understand a little better the effects of the choices we have made as a people about how to treat the poor among us. Over the past decade or so, we've made some profound changes in how we deal with America's poor. Some of those changes were the product of the National Welfare Reform Act of 1996, others the result of actions taken by the 50 states in response to that law, and many others the product of the shifting nature of the increasingly global American economy. We want to use today to begin to get our arms around the effect of these simultaneous changes. To understand what's happening here, I think we need, in issues as diverse and complex as this, I felt we needed to apply a host of different tools. Now, the Woodrow Wilson School itself is built around the notion of creating sound public policy using the academic tools of economics, sociology, political science, psychology, and we'll hear today from some of the leading scholars in those fields. Peter Edelman of Georgetown University will share his unique perspective as one who was present at the creation of the welfare reform we're discussing today and who has very strong feelings about the courses taken since. Rob Woods of Mathematica will give us a strong analytic look at what happened in the 3 states in our region as a result of these reforms, and Olivia Golden from the Urban Institute will help guide our thinking a little bit as we look forward on what should happen and what probably will happen. And we'll hear from leading policymakers on all these issues from all 3 states, and I'm grateful for their willingness to spend time with us today. But I actually believe that to understand the dimensions of these issues requires tools beyond the tools of the academy. Real thinking about welfare policy, I believe, must begin and end with the real lives of real people. Complicated, heartbreaking, inspiring, and whatever else real. We've actually called upon a young filmmaker, Ted Alcorn of NYU's Film School, and paired him with a leading writer and journalist, professor at Columbia Journalism School and friend, LynNell Hancock, to help us use the tools of film and journalism to ground today's discussion, to make sure that before we begin talking about policy, in the abstract, we hear the voices and see the faces of the people we'll be talking about. After the film, LynNell will moderate a brief roundtable with some of the people I'll meet in the film, Anthony Harris, Sonia Navarro, as well as the directors of the agencies that work with them, people who devote their lives to these issues, Connie Mercer of Homefront and Mary Gay Abbott Young of the Rescue Mission of Trenton. One special note on the mission itself. Universities like this have events all the time, and we usually partner with other big research universities, sometimes with foundations or big government agencies. But in this case, we understood, or believed at least, that the best way to ensure we stay grounded in the real world of poverty and the lives of the poor was to partner with a provider of direct services in one of the most troubled cities in our region. Now, there are lots of agencies that do very good work, and many of you here represent those agencies. So I view the rescue mission in some respects as representative of a great civic conscience in our country, and we're proud to have them as our partner. We wanted to hear from the broader public, and we sought out one of the country's leading public opinion research firms, Global Strategies Group, to perform a unique piece of research, testing perceptions of poverty and welfare among those on welfare, the near poor, and the middle class, and the results of which you'll hear from partner Jeff Plout later today. And finally, we asked one of the nation's leading political figures, Congressman Charlie Rangel, a man 15 seats away from becoming chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, which has full charge of this issue in the Congress, to offer us a perspective at a national level, completing a cycle of perspectives that will begin with individuals and end with national policy. The day is outlined in the packages I hope you all have. You'll also find a copy of a DVD of this film we'll see in a few moments. So let me just briefly review them that schedule. We'll see the film made by Ted Alcorn working with LynNell, followed by a discussion with the participants. Then, with the grounding in the real world, we'll hear from Peter Edelman and Rob Woods, with commentary from some of the region's leading policymakers, anti-poverty figures, moderated by our own faculty member, Sarah McClanahan. After that, over lunch, I promised I'd mention lunch, Congressman Rangel will share his agenda for the next Congress. Jeff Plout will then unveil the findings of the new research he's done, copies of which will be available to all of you to take home and review. And then we'll end with Olivia Golden, thinking ahead, and commentary from other leading thinkers in the region in a discussion led by our own Professor Doug Massey. It's quite a day. I should note that all the papers and presentations will be available on the website in a few days, along with videos of the conference. In the several weeks, we'll be printing books, as some of you may have seen, that have the proceedings of the conference and some summary of the discussion, which we will mail to all of you. One of the reasons why we need your addresses outside so we can follow up with you. Now, a few thanks are in order, and then I'll be done. First and most importantly, Andy Racklin, who many of you have met, has been the creative force behind so much of what we're doing today, guiding every aspect of the scholarship, the production, the outreach, and none of us would be here without his work, and I can't thank him enough. He's been ably assisted by our staff here at the Institute, especially the very brave Georgette Harrison and Cindy Ernst, who you met outside, working under the real man in charge of the operations of our Institute, Uday Tambaru, sitting over here. But I want to make two more final, very personal notes. This conference, just like my own career of 30 years working in government and policy in 2 of these states, is inspired every day by my father's 40 years of struggle to make words weapons of social justice, though through more than a dozen books and hundreds of articles, every one of them reflecting a fierce belief in the potential for decency. And later today, my wife Maria will be joining us, a journalist and author who introduced me to LynNell Hancock and who spent her career helping me and many others understand that social justice must be grounded in that most profound source of humanity, love for our families and love for those in pain. From the 2 of them, I came to learn that all that matters comes down to those 2 simple words, to justice and to love. And as we go through today, filled with ideas and images and scholars and politicians and disappointments and hopes, I will be using those 2 lamps to light the way. Thank you for joining us on this enormously important adventure. And now let us begin by listening to the voices, listening with justice and with love. Thank you.
My name is Sonia Navarro. I was born in New York City, born and raised there. And I came to Trenton at the age of 18. And I am now 40 years old. I have 5 children. I am not married, unfortunately. There. My name is Sonia Navarro. I was born and raised in New York. At this present time, I have 5 children. I am not married. At the age of 16, I have my first child. At the age of 16, I had my first child. See, I don't know how to go. I don't know. I'm telling my story, but I don't really know how to go, what route to go. But just basically tell the truth, like what really happened. Okay, I think I need to start all over again and put something else different.
It is difficult enough to find the right words for telling the story of your own life. Public policy, in a sense, is an attempt to define the stories of millions of them. Seen in this light, welfare is America's endeavor to understand the problems confronting its poor and to help them write themselves a better future. But no single story is broad enough to encompass them all. Citing Department of Health and Human Services analysis on the 10th anniversary of his 1996 reforms, Bill Clinton declared that welfare as we know it is over. But behind the stream of statistical good news lies a human toll. A group of people in Trenton, New Jersey, found the words to tell us their stories in and out of the welfare system. Some of them are participants in Homefront, an initiative that assists low-income families in finding permanent, affordable housing. Others are residents of the Trenton Rescue Mission, which serves single men and women, many transitioning back from the criminal justice system or from battles with drugs and alcohol. Mary Gay Abbott Young has been the chief executive officer of the mission for 20 years. She deals with the welfare system and people whose lives depend on it every day.
What I see as the problem is that we look at welfare as if it should be the solution to poverty and all of the other issues that our residents come with. I think it's very difficult to understand. Our residents aren't just, poor and money's going to solve the problems. You have alcohol issues, you have incarceration issues, you have criminal backgrounds, you have legal problems that are coming up, you have child support, you have shattered families, and the list just keeps going on and on. And somehow, when we say, how are we going to address problems? Oh, the welfare system. And so it becomes everything from taking care of your kids to a job training program when it was a system designed to meet economic needs.
I'm from Philadelphia. I kind of went to school both places, Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So, I've been back and forth. Childhood was bad. It was really bad. Like, I had to grow up fast. Physical abuse, verbal abuse, group homes, residential, foster care, that sort of thing. I have one brother and one sister. My sister, she was kind of the, what would you call that? People looked after her more. So instead of them taking us, they took her, some godparents or whatever, however you want to put it. They left us hanging, you could say. So we had to learn the hard way, we had to be like, how would you put it? Like animals in the wild. You had to learn how to fend for yourself. Because if you didn't, you was going to die. And it wasn't my time to do that yet. So I took care of my brother. And, anything you could, I hate to put it like that, but anything you could think of that's bad, that got to do with being negative, we had to do it. I didn't want to do it, but it was either that or you get walked on. People wouldn't have pity for you. They would run all over you. They would use you up and whatever. So we had to actually step up and make some moves, or we was just going to be out there.
I'm from Sudan, and I came to this country as a refugee. In 2001, I moved from Sudan to Egypt. And in Egypt, I stayed for 3 years. Actually, we came together with my husband from Sudan to Egypt. And in 2002, I had my son, Daniel. So in 2004, we came to the United States of America, the same as a refugee. In Sudan, actually, I went to a University College of Rural Development and Community Studies. So I just did 1 semester and then we left. So that was in 2000 to 2001 because I finished my high school in 1999. The time I was living, it was very hard over there because of the political problem, the war that was taking place before. Thousands of people died during that time. It's like bombing and all that stuff, you know. So you have to hide yourself under they have to dig, like they call it Hancock. They have to dig the ground, under the ground, you know. When they started fighting the fire, you know, lighting, you have to get under that hole, you know, to protect until it cooled down, and then you can get out from the hole. You know? So it's like protecting yourself. But if the bomb fall in the same way, of course it's gonna, you know. It was very serious war at that time. So.
I grew up in, well, when I was really younger, I grew up in Hopewell, New Jersey. I moved to Trenton when I was 8. My dad was never there. He was like always did like junk cars, and he always worked. But it was 10 kids, so he always took care of us. My mom was there, but she wasn't so smart either. She never graduated. She only made it to the 8th grade. She had 10 kids. All she knew how to do was be a housewife. She got married at 15, so she didn't have no smarts. So I dropped out, and I hung with the guys, and I had a kid, and I started working. At first, I did newspapers. I threw the newspapers. Then I went to McDonald's. I babysat. Any little thing you could do being that young is what I did, just to have money. Couldn't go to school, so I went to work. Back and forth on welfare and things like that. And trying to go to school at the same time, being a mother. But I couldn't do both. So basically, that's why I've been on and off welfare. And then I eventually came homeless because as soon as I got a job, which only makes $7 an hour, welfare took me right off. Because I'm bipolar, and I ran out of my medicine. I hope this is not messing this up. I can't concentrate on my work because I have no medication. So I have to go back to the hospital. But workforce is telling me if I don't go to work first, they're going to sanction me. And if they sanction me, I'm going to lose my housing. So right now, I'm applying right now. And like, I know I can do it, and I'm like, I'm going to be okay. But my mind is like, no, Nancy, it's going to be the end of the world because I'm so stressed out, you know? And I can't concentrate, and I want to. And it's hard for me.
When I came to Trenton, there's a lot of different things that I did not know because I was a young mom with a child. And coming to Trenton, I started doing different things that a young teenager would do, even though I had a child. In the process, I got pregnant again. The young man that I had a baby by, the second young man that I had a baby by, was very abusive, though I did not realize that until I had the third child. And even then, I said again, leaving home early, that's all I knew to deal with. And I believe that having children, I thought that would make things better. I remember trying to finish school. That didn't work out. I remember trying to get a job. That didn't work out. I wasn't, at the time, now that I'm a little older, I can understand that I wasn't mature enough or strong enough to deal with what adults have to deal with.
And then I came to understanding that you ain't going to stop until you're ready to stop. You ain't going to get on board and do what you're supposed to do until you really make up your mind that that's what you want to do. Whether the judge puts you in jail, whether you live on the street, whether you however the situation may go. But if nothing change, won't nothing change. And you know what that means? So that's how I look at it. If you don't do nothing, you won't get nothing. So you got to get on your feet. And I figure that if you're doing what you're supposed to do, people will help you if they see you trying. That's my understanding of welfare. They're there to help you if you're trying to do something better for yourself.
When talking about the welfare benefit, what the monthly benefit is, it's $140-some a month cash, and then there's some food stamps. And then we put other programs on that. For example, okay, we know that that's not going to be enough to live on, so if you meet a certain set of requirements, the welfare system will then help you with a down payment and pay part of your rent and this and that. But I don't think that anyone would try to call that an adequate cash supplement to be able to make it.
Okay, welfare benefits for me, I get $290. I have one son. I get Medicaid, I get food stamps. The Medicaid is good because we have no insurance. Okay, that is great.
She provides me with like clothing for my son, you know, some stuff in the house if it's missing, and you know, so it's really helpful for those who wants to benefit and wants to build up their the way they was living, you know, they're living. So
if I'm on welfare, I can go to school, work first. They'll help me with job training. They'll help me with the GED. They'll help me with the computers. You know, and if I go out to work, I can't get no help. If you get a job like me because I don't have high school diploma, I'd make $7 an hour. I probably make $180 because after taxes, 4 weeks in a month, so maybe I make $600-700 after taxes. It still ain't enough. Permanent housing is subsidized low income, aka people would call projects. Like I can live through it because I've been through it. But my son, I'm afraid for my son. My son is 9. He's going to want to go outside. He's going to play with other kids outside. But the area is so bad, you can't stop everybody. Cops can't be around 24/7. You can't. There's always going to be drug dealing. Okay, it's always going to be out there.
And I'm not used to live to that kind of places. I mean, like, you know, and like hearing a lot of stories about what happening, news and newspapers seeing what happening, killing of people. It makes me more scared to be in such kind of places. Especially I have a boy, a son, you know. If it's like me by myself, I could handle, I can stay everywhere because it's like going to school, coming back home, just lock yourself in, doing your business, going, you know. I will not be involved, but a child sometimes, you know, who may like involved with other kids, wants to go, you know, it's dangerous, it's dangerous.
I'm afraid that like, the little girl got shot in the face last year that lives there, okay? PJL, the schools over there, bad neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? I'm afraid for my son, not just for me, for him. That's why I want to work so hard so I don't have to go there. But you know, you can't live a transitional forever.
So, as far as we talk about the welfare situation, it's good and it's bad. It's good if you're trying to actually do something to get off it. It's bad if you just want to make a career out of it and just sit there and just collect money every month to get high or do whatever, little whatever. Because there ain't nothing coming out of that but bad stuff. So, as far as welfare, I see it's good. They helping my family out. My girlfriend that's got a high school diploma, she signed up for college, she get ready to go to college. So, she get ready to get off. So, it is working for people that want to do something. I mean, if it wasn't for welfare, who knows how this would have been paid for people to be here and actually get themselves together. Who knows where it would have been at, what they would have been doing, what I would have been doing. It ain't necessarily got to be because of the mission, but it is though. They help, but it's like a kind of like a self-help program. They just guide you and make sure you do what it is you're supposed to do.
I go to Mercer County Community College as a full-time student. I apply for financial aid. So every semester they pay for my classes, provide me with books. I don't know for others, but for me it's really good. It's not only that, but it's also help you to think how to be in the future. You know, so.
As far as financial wise, keeping a place or whatever, it was one thing, but even mentally raising kids and you not even halfway raised yourself. You know, this is why I say to myself, I don't know how I made it. but I did make it. I was going to school again. All of a sudden, that's when they came along and was like, we're not paying for her to go no more. We want her to work. When welfare said we got 5-year limit, Sonia was not ready for 5-year limit because Sonia had a lot of other shit going on that, you know, I just came out of. They didn't understand that. They didn't understand. They just wanted me to go to work and forget all the other stuff. I did have the motivation, I just didn't have the support.
Welfare treats everybody the same, and they shouldn't do that. I'm not like everybody. Everybody's case is different. But I know I have God or somebody. If this little birdie needs, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. But then I get anxiety, you know, and I need my medicine. And like, welfare's going to throw me off. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm sinking into like quicksand. Yes, I'm out of the shelter. Yes, I'm in transitional housing. But yet, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to go to school, work first, I'm only getting $7 an hour, I don't have time for my GED. I can't study because I can't think. I need my meds. Welfare doesn't understand that. They just want you right off of welfare. They can care less. Get a job, they don't care what 6, 5, 6, 7. They just want you off. And everybody's story is different.
I think what I would like to see is a system that is simplified somehow. Those two words don't go together. I want a system and I want it to be simple. But we have to allow a system that can reach down and be so personalized that at whatever point the individual is at, it's willing to, that system can take that individual and assist him or her in moving forward. Now in some cases that'll be education. In some cases it'll be decent housing. In others it will focus on medical. And we can't have a system that is all-encompassing like that. And there's no basket big enough that can meet all those needs.
Mm-hmm. My goal is to get a GED, to get my certification for my computers so I can work in a hospital and make that $12 an hour and never be on welfare again. Now I have that year. In that year, will I get a GED? In that year, will I get that computer certificate? In that year, will I make, within 2007, February 2007, will I be in a hospital? Will I get that job? Will I be there? I know it's up to me. But you guys can, as soon as I get my GED, are you going to kick me right off of welfare? You sanction me, I'll lose my house. I'll be back in the shelter again. I'll say, I'll see you again. Why do that to me? Don't do that to me. You don't know what's going on. Help me with child care. I'll pay if you pay. Go by my income. But work with me. That's my goals. That's what I want to happen. The kids are stupid. Everything we go through, the child goes through. I don't want him to live the life I lived. I don't want him to go through or get a girl pregnant or, you know what I'm saying? I don't want him to live that life that I lived, ever. Because I lived the life my mom lived. She was poor. We lived in Trenton, you know? I know how it is to grow up like that. And I'm doing the same thing she did. I want it to stop with me, with him.
As a mother, you will hope for the best of your child. Whatever is good for him, you wish him to be. You know? So I don't know what he's going to be, but I will always wish him to be a good boy and a good son in the future. So, like being in my country or being in Egypt, your parents is the only source to provide you going to school or finish your education or whatever. But here in America, you see there's agencies, you know, it's like the welfare helping or there's financial aid helping people to go to school, you know. For me, it's going to be like, if I start working, welfare is going to cut off from me and then I'm not going to be able to afford my living. So if I start working as a full-time, so maybe it's going to help and then pay and then I will be stopping going to school because this is a big problem. And then if I decide like I have to work as a part-time, it's not going to help. It's not going to be enough to pay for my rent or to pay for whatever I'm going to do, you know. Sometimes I sit by myself and then think about it, makes me confused. I don't know what I want to do, you know. So, but right now I'm just concentrating and focusing on my school. If I finish school, and then that will be the better way for me to move out of this welfare, because right now I don't have any support coming from nowhere. So this is the only source I'm depending for, you know. So Right now, I don't know. I don't have idea about what's going to happen. So, I heard a lot about America. You know, there's a lot of opportunity, people, and it's true. You know, there's a opportunity for those who wants to progress. It's not only for foreigners, but for both Americans who really wants a better living for themselves and their children or their generation. You know, so. They should encourage, especially those who wants to go to school, you know. I think in this way it will reduce some of the bad stuff happening in the area, you know, because I think most of the people breaking out from because they can't afford, they can't go to school, they can't work for themselves. It's like they confuse and then they just break out and then do bad stuff, you know. So.
I would say it was a learning experience, like going through all the stuff that I've been going through. For some reason, I always was able to still smile. I don't know how. Keep hope that it would get better. It's been 6 months that I ain't do nothing. I mean, nothing. I've been here at the mission, and I've been doing what I was supposed to do. I stopped going to jail. So I got that part out the way. And then another thing that really helped it was that me having kids. I got 4 little ones that they need me to be there, so ain't no way I can't say I don't know what it's like, because I know what it's like not to have somebody be there for you, to show you, or at least guide you to do what you're supposed to do. But once I had my first kid, things started to shift a little bit. I was still a little rocky with it, but it started to shift. Now it's the part where having to deal with me. Getting off the drugs. I was so far into it that I just ain't see no way out. I stopped, the jail part was out the way. The starting to get into the kids was working. And I was like, the only last part is me. And I had to really like dig deep to see what really was the problem. And it wasn't the problem. The drugs wasn't the problem. It was some stuff that I was dealing with before, like even talking to you. I never talked to nobody. So I learned how to talk and let it go. And it's like I've seen for myself that the more I let it go, the better it's working. It made me feel better. I'm like, if I done did all this stuff out here in the street and I didn't care then, it ain't really nothing nobody can really do to me now. I done did enough to myself already, so what can you do? I'm not saying I'm not open to suggestions and listening and learning something else. As far as all the bad stuff about how you go back and how you do that, there ain't nothing you can tell me about how to survive out in the street. You can put me anywhere and I'll survive, but tell me how I'm supposed to live like other people doing, like normal people doing. That's what I want to know.
My graduation in 2002 was something that I always believed that I could do it, but it took a long time for me to do it, so I was like very happy at 36 get my diploma. I've never been married, but it was a feeling like when you're about to get married and everybody's in the house doing your hair and everybody's taking pictures and all that. So I enjoyed all of that. In spite of being older, I didn't get my GED. I walked with cap and gown, went to my prom, and some people be like, man, I ain't going to my prom. I'm too old for that. Well, to me, I felt like because I worked so hard to get to that point, I felt like, why not just enjoy it? That's just how I felt. It happened to be the year that my son graduated. Because I got my diploma at 2 o'clock. He was getting his diploma at 6 o'clock. So by right, I was trying to be funny. I said, I got it before you did. And he was like, Mom, but you should have been got your diploma. You know? And for a second there, I felt kind of stupid. Because at 30, I should have been got my diploma. You know, giving me pats on the back. I don't want no pat on the back. I should have been doing that. But you know, it was just like the feeling of it. It's a good accomplishment. You know, I accomplished something after all these years.
Can people from outside this world ever understand it? I'm in it every day, and I don't think I understand it any more than I can understand people who are very, very rich. I think we're all limited by our own experiences. So I think the ability to understand how difficult it is for someone with a mental health issue, for someone with a substance abuse issue, to get up and fight that one day, to stay sane, to stay in the box, to not use drugs and alcohol. I can't begin to explain that. I think it takes tremendous personal resources that we can't even begin to tap.
Now I'm gonna flip it on the other side, is that first of all, we as human beings need to watch what type of decisions we make. It's not welfare's fault, it's not the community's fault that we made decisions that we made. Like, we played a part to all these things that we're going through. But if you guys are there and you say, we're going to help you, and then you come in the middle of that and just cut me off, it's like as if you're helping me climb up, and then when I get halfway, you just let me go, I'm lost again. You know, so to me, it's like a cycle. To me, I believe like it's like a cycle type of thing. You know, I also believe that that cycle could be broken somehow. I say that only because my mom didn't finish school. You know, I went through the crap that I went through, but I did get my diploma. But things don't work out for everybody like they did for me. Like, for some reason, I was able to fight more, and finally I got my son to where he needed to be at. For some reason, I was able to say, you know what, welfare? Okay, y'all want me to do this and this and this and that? Okay, but I'm going to go to school on the extra, on the side. But that does not work for everybody.
Is it possible that we can reward those who work hard and understand that there are people who work hard who don't produce as much, who aren't as successful? When I think back to my grandparents, you know, I'm from Pittsburgh, and you know, people worked in the mill. Men went to work in the mill, and that was like a sign. You know, carrying a black lunch pail was like a good thing to be, and that was valued. And there's no mill for people to go to today. And my grandparents had third-grade educations. Would they be a success in today's world? And so, am I successful because my parents gave me a value for education, and I understood the importance of staying in school and receiving an education? Does that make me more of a success than one of the gentlemen you talked to this morning, who care very deeply about their kids, who care very deeply about their families, who are basically good-hearted people who have problems that prevent them from making the same success by which we measure ourselves today? And so what happens when you have a society that measures by those success standards and someone's always told they're a failure? And that's, I don't know how to balance those things out. We don't value the person, we value the success.
I think it's time for the panel, so I'd like to call Sonia and Mustard and Mary Gay and Connie.
Right here.
Yeah, hi.
How you doing?
Good. That's pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
While they're coming down, I just want to greet you all again. Good morning. My name is LynNell Hancock. I'm a New York-based writer and a teacher of journalism across the river, the big river, the Hudson River, at Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism. I reported for several years on the welfare system in New York City for the most part, following 3 families as they were navigating the first 5-year lifetime limit. So I was pleased and I guess somewhat surprised when I got the call from Princeton in the form of Tony Shorris to come to this conference, and with the idea of having welfare recipients being front and center in a conference on TANF at 10. I've been to countless conferences on campuses I won't name, where I've often sat back brooding about how interesting and how deeply effective it might be if the voices and the experiences of real people were involved in the academic debate. So it almost never happens. It almost makes too much sense to think that if you really want to know about welfare reform and how it's working, ask the people who are going through it and living with it day after day, year after year, decade after decade. So I guess those bogus magazine rankings are actually right, that Princeton is the smartest university in the country. Go no. Ted Alcorn, the filmmaker, I think did a magical job of pulling together Where are you, Ted? He's right back there hiding. I mostly watched him work from the corners, but the two of us did many, many interviews, about 15 to begin with and 8 on camera, and not all of them we were able to put on film because of the constraints of film and storytelling and so on. But everybody gave so generously of their stories. It was very inspiring for both of us. You should note, I think, that the pool of interviews that we did were from 2 very specific sources, from the Rescue Mission and from Homefront, which are both places in Mercer County that serve people who are either homeless or in need of shelter. So they come to these centers in a sense of crisis, at a crossroads in their life. These are not the population of people who are fairly easy to move off the welfare rolls, who might just need a job interview, training program, or resume building, or just a deadline to push them off the rolls. I think you can see from this film that the issues that these clients face are as dire as they are complex and as varied as the individuals that you see in front of you. They go beyond the basic needs of food and shelter and a job that pays to education primarily, child care, health care, mental health care, substance and abuse counseling, safe neighborhoods, quality schools, a sense of community, and a life that has the possibility of dignity. So the experience confirmed for me what I had begun to understand about 10 years ago, which is that we have a federal bill that has created a fairly rigid welfare system for a population that is living with a great deal of uncertainty. So today, before you, we're pleased to introduce the panel. We have 2 of the individuals who we interviewed. Mustard didn't make it onto the screen, but we have the privilege of meeting him here in person. This is Anthony Harris, who is a driver at the Trenton Rescue Mission right now. His real name is Mustard, which I understand his aunt, when he was born, said he's no bigger than a mustard seed. So it just kind of stuck, and that's who he is to everybody who knows him. One of the nicest guys you ever want to meet. Beside him is Mary Gay Abbott Young, who, as you saw on the screen, is the director, CEO of the Rescue Mission. She's also a certified social worker, criminal justice counselor, alcohol, drug abuse counselor, and who knows what else, right? The mission has a long history, going back to the turn of the century, when it served veterans, mostly veterans of armed services who were down on their luck. And now the adults knocking on their doors are very different circumstances, which I hope Mary Gay is going to address this morning a bit. Beside Mary Gay is Sonia Navarro, and you know her well by now. She's the mother of 5 and the grandmother of twins, right? Any more than 2?
2 sets of twins.
2 sets of twins, okay, 4.
5 granddaughters.
5 granddaughters altogether. She's worked her way through the programs of Homefront, shelter to become an employee, and she's the food pantry coordinator at the moment. She's hoping to complete her associate's degree, and she has a lot to say about the virtues of the lifetime limit on welfare, as well as trying to juggle life after welfare as the working poor. And to my left is Connie Mercer, who is the founder and executive director of Homefront, which is a complex of programs here in Mercer County and shelters for homeless families. She started this endeavor about 13 years ago, I think, or more, 16?
16 years ago, right here at Woodrow Wilson was our very first conference.
Well, there you go. When she began making meals in her kitchen to feed the families, the homeless families who were being sheltered in hotels at that time. So she took on the task of creating a shelter system that serves an average now about 350 people a night, and there are also 38 other programs for children and families here. So I want to turn these wonderful people over to you for questions, and I thought I would first ask Mary Gay to just kick it off by talking a little bit about some of the differences in the circumstances of people she sees now compared to 10 years ago.
Actually, go back to the, thank you very much, LynNell. Connie, I feel kind of funny with you over there, so.
That's,
okay.
Turn it on, I think. Is that on? Or
am I right there, Nance? No?
Just closer.
How's that? That's just like we do it at the rescue mission. Actually, when I went to the rescue mission, we served a population primarily coming out of World War II, gentlemen who had serious alcohol problems, who, when they arrived at the rescue mission, had a sense of skills and ability, and it has been their sense that they could work when they didn't drink. You just couldn't interfere with their drinking, that has built the rescue mission into what it is today. The change in population is that the people who knock on our doors today, although fine people, and as I said in the film, very dedicated to their families and their principles and trying to do the right thing, have less skills and less ability to function in our society. I think Leroy makes it very clear when he says he needs someone to teach him how to live. And that's the issue we face every day, is how to teach someone like Leroy, when he has great skills in surviving on the street, how to survive in a society that, as Tony talked about this morning, so many of us are middle class. It's like me understanding the rich. It's very different from him. He has no basis in which to put that information. And so he starts with that deficit, and we work from there. So I don't know what else to say other than to tell you that the one thing we build upon is everyone who comes to the rescue mission at some sense, at some point, at some moment in their being has a desire for a better life, and that's the starting point. Thank you.
Maybe this is a good point for Connie to also weigh in with the families. They serve slightly different populations.
although I should first say that I'm here representing the two other young ladies who made their movie debut today, but they, because of the constraints of the welfare legislation, couldn't afford to miss any more days from their Welfare to Work program to be here. or they would have been sanctioned, and they could not afford that, so I am standing in for them. When Homefront began 16 years ago, Mary Gay and I used to fight all the time because she would describe her homeless folks in one way, and I would describe our families in really quite a different way. And we were, 16 years ago, primarily talking about issues and crises of lack of affordable housing. And a huge percentage of the folks that Homefront dealt with 16 years ago were folks where if there were enough affordable housing and if there were some skill training, it was very possible to believe that they could get their lives together and move on to a middle-class life without a whole bunch of supports around them. Now, Mary Gay and I disagree much less often about what our population looks like. I think in Mercer County we've done a pretty good job of helping folks who were easy to get into homes, get them settled. Now the folks that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis are folks with huge mental health issues, huge addiction issues, huge issues in not having basic skills. We are serving about 350 to 390 people on any given day, and the average reading level of our moms is below a 6th grade level. How in God's name, in this very mechanized society, are our ladies going to be able to go out and get a job that will put a roof over their head if they're only reading at a 6th grade level?
Mm-hmm. This makes Sonia's story that much more heroic in so many ways. Sonia, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what you're doing now and what it's like to work at the level you are now. What are the sort of worries that you have for the future?
As Sonia's gathering her thoughts, I should jump in and say that I was one of those people who said to Sonia, Sonia, you've got 5 kids, you can't get a high school degree, let's get a GED and let's do it quick because it's just too damn hard. And Sonia said, Miss Connie, I really love you, but you're wrong. I can do it and I will do it.
Yeah, I was a very, 2002 was a very exciting year for me. Despite graduating with my son, but I felt kind of excited either way. Education is just, it's, like I said in the video, is not like something that I was making up. Without education, without, like sending somebody to a job, without a diploma, without any type of skills, what happens is then other people come a year, 6 months, maybe a month, that have skills, that were able to finish school, that were able to do all those things that they did not go through the things that I went through to get a job, and then here they come and they'll just snatch my job. That's basically the reality. You know, it's not a fake. It's not a fake at all. I have a 23-year-old right now that has his diploma, that is educating himself in school, off and on training. And even with him not having no kids and all that, it's still hard. So I could just imagine like all these young ladies and all our young girls that are, whether they are the ones that made a choice to get pregnant and all that type of stuff. How are we ever gonna stop that cycle if we don't push a little bit more to help? You know, like I said again, holding me, it's like as if you're holding me, and then when I get up halfway, you just let me go. So I'm never gonna make it. Now, to me, I believe that
my age and mentality grew up very quickly as I started doing some things that I never thought that I really was able to do, or maybe that I thought were important. Like all I knew was to have kids. To have kids and have this normal, to me, normal was having kids and not being married and that type of stuff. And growing up, and as I grew up, like from me wanting, and I'm just trying to explain how my mentality, and I think that like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I spoke in front of the Board of Education, and one of the things that I remember saying is that once you hit the street or you start doing drugs or you start having kids, it's like as if you stop growing mentally, because you only do what you know how to do. The only thing that you know how to do is what you're doing. Whether I made the choices whether I made the big grown-up choices or not, that's where I was at. Now what? But that doesn't mean that because I did all those decisions at a young age, that doesn't mean that I was not able to make it. It's just that I needed support from one form or another. And one of the things that I'm doing now, I don't feel like people that are babysitting me anymore. I'm 40 years old. I should have been grown up a long time ago. And like I said in the film, I don't want people patting me on the back. At 40 years old, I should be on my way to retiring. You know what I mean? But the bottom line, this is where I'm at. So where do we go from here?
Thank you.
Where do we go from here? Where does Sonia go from here at this time is trying to be a better worker consistently, learning different things. I say education is because from being a person years ago thinking that I probably want to be a secretary, maybe I want to be a lawyer now. And this is where my mentality has went. Like, if at 36 I got my diploma and went to a prom, well then maybe I can work my way up and be in something a level higher than what society looks at. Like, just being a teacher.
Mustard.
How about being a lawyer or a doctor?
I wanted to make sure that Mustard introduces himself to you as well, to get caught up with where you are now, and then I promise I'll open it to the audience for questions. So if you could just tell us what you're doing now at the mission.
Well, I had just came back into the mission like around in July. I came in as a resident for, when I came back in this time, I came in clean, but I felt while I was out on the streets that my life was feeling like it was about to change. I don't know if it was for the good or the bad, so I decided I had to go back to my safe haven, to where I know if I go back there, I'll be on the right path. So I was expecting it was for the best, so I went back. It kind of like, once I got there, I was a resident, so I was like working on the dock. And so now that I'm within, shows me that it was for the best, because now that I'm went from a residence as a dock worker to a residence as a truck driver. And so that's more like giving me hope that, that my life is getting better, and it's like, it's a place to where, you're there for a reason, to help you build your life back together. If you feel like, your life ain't together, it's a good place to go, because they're there to help you. And like, we was talking about this welfare thing, it's like welfare is there for people that want to help themselves, so that's what basically I go there for my help. And like where I'm at in my life right now, and it's beautiful, because like things are getting better for me. I was on welfare as a resident. Since I became a truck driver, I had to come off welfare because like I'm a truck driver now. It's like a job, but I'm still a resident, so I am employed right now, so it's like I'm getting a lot of benefits out of being there, and it's like I was working while I was out on the streets, but I was still wasn't doing the proper things that I was supposed to do with my money, you know. So where I'm at is where I want to be, because, you know what I mean, if I was to stay out in the city of Trenton right now, you know what I mean, every day I come out the house, I don't know which way to go, because you got to be careful with what you're doing out there today. So I'm just basically being, and it's like a safe haven for me right now to keep going on with my life and in the right direction. It's not saying that I'm going to be there for the rest of my life, but I'm not ready to go nowhere until I'm actually sure about leaving this time, you know. And so my life right now is, I don't have no complaints. And I like to really, like, since we're here, get this woman right here sitting next to me, all my love. You know what I mean? She helped me out a lot. She showed me a lot of things, you know what I mean? Not only her, the staff too, you know, because, like, I am a very decent and respectable person. And, like, where I came from, I, you know, did a lot of bad things, you know what I mean, that I'm not afraid to talk about, but I know that wasn't me. I had an addiction, you know, and addiction just took over my life. It took me to places where I didn't want to go, thought I'd never go, you know. And so for when I came back, you know, these thoughts was like, you're going back that way. So like I said, I came back there to get my life back in order, you know. So the rescue mission, I owe them my life right now, you know. So it's a very beautiful place to be.
Thank you, Mustard and Sonia. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions. We can hear, right, in this acoustic environment. So who would like to begin? You'd like to begin? Okay. Andy will carry the mic. Any hands? Over here to the left.
Thanks. I have a question for Sonia. You said something that I thought was really interesting, which was like having kids for you was normal and that was what you did. And I feel like that's sort of what you hear now too, is that in a lot of communities, like young girls, it's like normal for them is being 16 and getting pregnant and, you know, doing all this stuff. And so how, like, if you had a chance to sort of create some sort of program that would help change the idea of what is normal, like, what do you think could feasibly be done, given that people are in communities where this is what normal is? Like, how do you reach people and sort of help them realize that? I mean, you mentioned it being sort of a choice, but in some ways it's not. It's a choice among a limited range of choices because there's only so many things people think they can do. Does that make sense?
That might be a question for Connie. You probably contemplated systems.
That's why we put her over there.
That's why we brought her.
Sure. You know what? That's in some ways a pretty easy question, I think. You give folks some joy, some hopes, and some dreams. They're not going to get pregnant. I didn't get pregnant young because I had things I wanted to do and things that I realistically thought that I could do. I thought that I could impact on the world in some other way before I understood why not to have kids. There was a reason not to have kids. Our young ladies so often have no dreams, and that's the most important thing we can do for them. Yes, of course, we teach them about birth control, but they're not going to use birth control unless they have a reason. And that's what we do each and every day, is we try and give folks some joy, some hopes, and some dreams of a future.
I thought when she asked that would be the same thing, that we would give joys, hope, and dreams. But I think one of the things that young girls face is also a peer pressure, and we sometimes forget what one night can do to the rest of our lives. And the reason I say that is I had all those hopes and dreams, and yet I also became pregnant at 16, and that changed my life forever. I don't think we actually give enough of a message to remind our youth about what one decision can make, whether it's a yes or no, that choice. And so my question was actually for Sonia, how do we show how decisions affect our life. How do we bring that into the schools for your son, for, I think it was her daughter, you know, in the film? How do we teach our children who face that life where there are no hopes and dreams because of the job situation or whatever, that we can step out of that? You know, we can step out of it.
My answer to that would be, can be. And I say can be and would be because I have all different situations that either, like I've got the 23-year-old. I was off the hook. I was a young mom, had him, and he finished high school. He's not on drugs. He's not a drug dealer. He's, you know what I mean? I had a good mom and dad at home. My mom was very strict, and I ran away and kept running away. So you see the difference. That's not really an answer to that, but keep planting the seed. Keep keeping it real to our kids. There's not really an answer to that, but not knocking our adolescents so much. You know what I mean? Like knocking, what I mean by knocking them is you're bad. Like I got a 12-year-old that he has behavioral problems. And I fought it with the thanks of a whole lot of different people to get him in a better school. This kid is doing very well. So what I'm saying is like not giving up on just you messed up, so now you're messed up for the rest of your life. Because everybody make mistakes. But in those mistakes, what do we do with those mistakes so we won't keep making those mistakes? Like, for instance, I'm blind from my left eye. Being hard-headed, I kept running away from home. I had a young lady that came and hit me in the eye with a pencil. For the rest of my life, I lost my eye. See, those are one of the examples that I can give me personally that happened to me for the rest of my life. I can't see out of my left eye. And by not being able to see out of my left eye, I didn't make that excuse to not have a job, to not have this. It was just other different things that was going on that I didn't know how to deal with. But these things that I'm expressing to you guys are the things that all about everybody goes through. It's just different people, how different people take it and how they go about it. It's just, there's really no answer to that, to me.
Any other questions? I'm going to take LynNell Hancock up on her opening remarks, that what better to ask for policy and program designers than the people who have lived their life through both the programs we have and have not created, what we need to do next. So there are 5 things I want to concretely ask Sonia and the gentleman. I'm sorry your sign isn't up, but okay, Anthony. I don't know the answers. What I'm asking you is, what do you recommend to us that it specifically include when you're thinking, Anthony, someday about moving out from the full shelter into perhaps a housing or apartment? What does it need to have for you to make the transition? What does it need to have, Sonia, for you to make the transition of going back for further education? Because why can't you be a lawyer? Maybe you could be, or a doctor. What are the kinds of subsidies you need or policy, decisions by the decision makers you need to take those next courageous steps? You've already come so far. What is it you need in education, in being allowed a savings account to get ready for it, in your housing, as I said, in your going back to school, subsidized so you don't have to work completely full-time? What does it need? What do you need in childcare if you have children? Can you be concrete? A few ideas.
Okay, for me, for right now, all right, I'm no longer on welfare. Okay, so for me, like after I leave, that's going to be determined on me. To when I leave, to like do what I have to do with my money, to save my money, to move once I do decide to leave. Now, basically, all of that you just asked about is going to depend on me, you know, because I'm helping myself right now, because I am employed, so I'm taking on my own responsibilities. You know, I'm not dependent on welfare. I'm not dependent on the county, the state for nothing. I got to do this on my own.
But what if we could help a little with something? What help would you want?
If I need y'all at that time, like welfare or something like for Medicaid, I will go to them for that. Because I'm a resident right now still. I'm not officially employed, you know, so I don't know where I'm standing on Medicaid, so I won't know until I go to a doctor and find out I don't have any. Then I'm going to have to start doing something about it. And as I know, I will have to go to welfare for that. Now, to be honest, I would like, you know, to try to do this on my own without going for help. But if push comes to shove, I need help, I'm going to ask. So basically, all the questions is depending on me.
Sonia, do you have an answer to some specific, some concrete things that?
I don't know how to really is like my situation right now is I would love to buy a house. Okay, well, certain. Now I never had a credit card, but little things that you have to pay still show up. How about trying to pay the regular bills, trying to pay the credit bills? How about it's just not so easy when you make mistakes in your life for somebody to overlook that you owe this person. To a certain extent, they don't even look at anymore whether you even are trying to pay. And this is what's happening to me at this time. Or I've been in trouble one time in my life at 28 years old. Wow, if I was to go try to get a job, like another job, like they would like condemn me for that one thing that I did. I don't even know I don't even know, because I believe that it comes a long way with all of the laws and all that stuff. Like I don't believe that people begin to understand coming out of like I'm in debt and I didn't even get nowhere and I'm still in little debt. Or something like I went to the emergency room 5 years ago and I didn't take my Medicaid or something like that, and that's on my credit. Or just recently, like a year and a half ago, lost my son, and that's another issue. Lost my son. He got in trouble one time in his life. I signed to bail him out. I'm at this point in time struggling paying bail bond. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to get to another level, but it's damn hard to get into another level. And I am consistently trying to pay my bills on time. I am not on drugs. I don't drink. I'm trying. And I have a home program. Any little raise I get, here comes Section 8. So any little raise I get, boom, here you go again. I'm not on welfare. I have no husband. I have no roommates. It's just me trying to work out from 2002. I don't even have an answer to that. I'm like where you're at. Like, I don't.
So, yeah.
I don't even know.
Yes.
I'm one person that is really trying to get in another level. I don't want to keep being in a home program. I really want to own a house. I'm paying almost $600 and something. I could be paying a mortgage, at least trying to pay a mortgage. Or maybe if I if something happened to me, God forbid, my grandkids could get something or something. You know what I mean? But that, sometimes I feel like that's not going to happen because when I do this, then something else is coming up. And when I do this, then something else is coming up.
Sonia's bringing up that issue of the working poor, which we haven't really discussed at any great length, but I remember a previous conversation I had with Connie. She was talking about a lot of the situations of women coming to the shelter, seeking homeless shelter, who were working in the local industries here in Mercer County, the big ones, making $10 an hour, $11 an hour in food service and cleaning service and so on. And I wonder if you could add to this conversation about the kinds of things you're seeing and what policy responses there might be.
Sure. The hardest thing for me these days is when somebody comes back to me and says, hey, Miss Connie, I did exactly what you told me to do. I went out and I got a job. I'm not on welfare anymore, and I still can't put a roof over my baby's heads. We kind of made a promise, I thought, as a society to folks with welfare reform. You go out, you get a job, you'll be okay. I think an awful lot of folks, the statistics show me out, who were on welfare went and lived up to their part of the bargain. They went out, they got the jobs. I'm not sure that the rest of society has lived up. I know the rest of society has not lived up to the implied bargain, which would be to allow them a life with dignity, particularly in a place like New Jersey. I guess New Jersey was just once again declared the state with the highest cost of housing. So an awful lot of our homeless folks, a lot of folks in our shelters, are folks who are working 40 hours a week, doing the kinds of jobs that we don't want to do, working in the nursing homes, working in the retail stores at god-awful hours, and they still can't put a roof over their kids' heads. That's insane in this society.
You also mentioned they were working at specific industries here. I don't know if you want to name them or...
Mary Ellen, you can do that much better than I can.
The statistics, I'm not up on it right at the moment. Clearly, you know, the incomes of people have not gone up at all in the last 30 years. Not the minimum wages, not the income of the average working person. They have gone down. The people who are making the money in this day and age are the ones that are getting all those tax cuts and are getting the multi-million-dollar CEO salaries that I know Connie and Mary Gay don't get. It isn't fair. I mean, if the average rent is $1,000 a month, roughly speaking, and you're not supposed to spend more than 30% of your income on your housing, if you're supposed to pay those other bills that we're talking about, you need an income of $40,000 a year, at least. And in fact, you need an income of $40,000 a year plus if you want to even afford affordable housing. So we have very specifically not designed a society in which you can go and work for 40 hours a week at the kinds of jobs that are being offered to people with minimum skills and survive. Not at all. You can't do it on welfare, and you can't do it when you immediately get off welfare.
I think we have time for one last question. Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes, way back in the top row. You'll have to really work for that one, Andy.
From what I'm understanding, I mean, it seems like we're trying to raise the minimum wage, you know, to a certain amount. I think is what, $7.65 or something like that, or $8, $7.15, and it doesn't seem like that's going to help. I mean, to piggyback on what Mary Ellen just said, it's impossible. If you make $40,000 a year, it's nearly impossible. I know that I'm struggling with a job, with education, with all the benefits and opportunities my parents have given me, and I find it hard So what can we do as, I work in legislation, what can we do as legislators? I mean, realizing all the hardships that we have. We're in New Jersey, we have a budget that we can't seem to close. We're asking people to do more with less. So what else can we do besides raising the minimum wage? 2 cents, exactly. I mean, there's got to be. It's not going to really be a benefit. And like you said, we're asking these people to get off the welfare system and to become contributors, back into society. But it's a hardship for everyone. So what can we do as legislators, I guess, in order to make it so that you can have affordable housing?
In the last legislative session in New Jersey, we did make some important steps, and that was to start our own state rental assistance program. We can make sure that there is more money available for Section 8s in the state of New Jersey. It's being cut, of course, terribly at the federal level. Since the beginning of the Reagan era, through the Democrats and the Republicans, the amount of money that's gone into affordable housing at the federal level has been cut 90%. We have stopped our commitment to affordable housing in this country. That's probably, as far as I'm concerned, that's the key thing that needs to happen. And our current governor is battling this one. He understands it, but he needs to get some support. There are little things to do. I'm an immensely practical person, and I do believe that I know that if every person who was in this room simply phoned your state legislator and said, hey, I hear that there's a bill about provisional licenses. Would you vote for it, please? That could make a huge difference. New Jersey is one of only 4 states, I think, in the country where there isn't some kind of provisional license so that folks who haven't been able to pay fines, and I'm not talking about drunk driving, but I'm talking about people who could not pay parking tickets, do not have lost their licenses, cannot get to work.
I'd like to ask Mary Gay to weigh in on this question, have the last word. You've been unusually quiet.
I think people are about ready for their break here, but I'll be as quick as I can. The one thing I'd like to say, Connie, policy, these issues are certainly crucial. I think we have 2 issues to face me. I'm director of a nonprofit, a very good nonprofit. Problem is, we're more and more aligned with the government all the time. Sometimes I think I'm part of the problem instead of part of the solution. So I think we need to challenge ourselves how we remember these aren't 2 welfare cases. These aren't 2 people who made mistakes. These aren't 2 bad people. I kind of like them. They're kind of interesting folks. I think y'all do too. These are people who have real problems, real lives. I think to me the crucial element is they both have children and they both have grandchildren. And unless we intervene with some serious steps, you're going to assure that I have a job when I'm too old to work it. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.